Part 55. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 542. After leaving Lei's house, I went straight to Villa F-06. Hall Master Li Feng was already waiting at the door. "Let's talk in the study," Len Ning said directly and entered the villa. Li Feng quickly followed. "Study? What's going on?" Len Ning asked directly after entering the door. "Second young Master Zhang corrected the code I made with you. The time is at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. The location is the bus station 2 kilometers south of Quanglin Base," Li Feng replied. Len Ning walked to the office chair and sat down. "Have you investigated why they left Quanglin Base this time?" he then asked. "The location is only 2 kilometers away from Quanglin Base, and Teacher Zhang is quite courageous. Perhaps he was impatient with waiting and finally took advantage of this opportunity. Therefore, even if the risk is higher, I am determined to take action. Check it. There is news that a large number of zombies are gathering and approaching Quanglin Base, and it is very likely that a zombie wave will form. Quanglin Base has already contacted our military department. Once a zombie wave occurs, they will request Thunder Base helps." This news came from second young Master Zhang. It should be that Quanglin Base decided to take action in advance, hoping to lure away this wave of zombies or eliminate some of them to avoid bad situations in the future, Li Feng analyzed. Len Ning nodded. "Agree with Li Feng's guess. Now in the entire city only their Thunder Base dares to confront the zombie wave head-on, and has the ability to stop the zombie wave from coming back. When other major bases encounter such a situation, they usually choose to disperse the zombies and lure them away to prevent the zombies from forming into a zombie wave and attacking the base. Quanglin Base should have the same idea this time. This time they attacked the zombie wave in advance. Although this was not a big battle, it was already quite significant for Quanglin Base, which had not had a major battle in recent times. Zhang Lin has always been dissatisfied with Zhang Huai's growing influence in the army, and now he is taking this opportunity to join the war in order to divide Zhang Huai's military achievements and cultivate his own power. This is entirely possible. This should be the case. It's just that the location is too close to Quanglin Base, and there must be someone accompanying Zhang Lin. It's probably not that easy to kill him without anyone noticing, Len Ning frowned. And there are a lot of zombies around there. If you are not careful, the zombie wave may break out at any time, Li Feng worriedly said to Len Ning. "Master, do you want to inform Mr. Lei about this?" Len Ning immediately looked at Li Feng displeased. "Tell brother?" She deliberately arranged this matter so secretly that apart from her, only Li Feng knew about it in order to hide it from her eldest brother. Now that she was about to act, how could she let her eldest brother know? Regarding the hatred and enemies in her previous life, she wanted to resolve these matters herself. She didn't want her elder brother to know about those dark and cruel things. Li Feng was frightened by Len Ning's gaze and immediately shut up. "Between 2:30 and 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, make sure my whereabouts are not exposed." Len Ning looked at Li Feng. Fortunately, during this time everyone was busy preparing to build a safe zone, and she often went out to hunt zombies. When she leaves secretly, no one will notice. She only left for a few hours, and when she was done, she brought Han Yu back, so she should be able to do it without anyone noticing. "Yes," Li Feng's eyes flashed with struggle, and he bowed to Len Ning. "Forget it, let's just act as the situation arises. The Hall Master has powerful abilities, so there shouldn't be any danger during this trip. If she fails to come back on time, it shouldn't be too late for him to go find Mr. Lei." "Yeah," Len Ning nodded. "Also, you should check that dungeon again. It should come in handy tomorrow night." Li Feng was stunned. "Yes then Chong," Len Ning replied respectfully. "The Hall Master personally prepared a dungeon a long time ago, and then entrusted him with the follow-up repair work of the dungeon, but it has never been put to use. If the Hall Master didn't mention it today, he would have almost forgotten about it. Dungeons must be used to imprison people. Who does the Hall Master want to imprison? No matter who it is, that person is really unlucky. Len Ning raised his eyes and looked at Li Feng. How is the situation in the branch hall recently? Nothing happened then, he asked. Everything is fine. The deputy hall master manages things well and handles everything in an orderly manner, Li Feng bowed and replied. Len Ning nodded. That's good. Sun Qi is a capable man. Master, you have good taste and a sharp eye for pearls, Li Feng smiled and flattered. It made Len Ning laugh immediately. You have to have a good eye to recognize pearls, right? You and Sun Qi are both talented people. I am relieved to leave the fifth branch to you. The original intention of creating the fifth branch was to make herself a supporter of her eldest brother and to be a match for him. Now the fifth branch is on the right track and has reached a large scale. Even with the financial support of her various industries, her strength has exceeded that of the four major branches. She also fulfilled her original expectations for herself. Brother is right, in business, a person's strength is never determined by his personal qualities and abilities, but by the qualities and abilities of his subordinates. In ancient times, the reason why Xiang Yu lost to Liu Bang was not because his skills were inferior to others. On the contrary, his personal strength far exceeded Liu Bang. But in the end of the Chu Han conflict, Xiang Yu was defeated in Wujiang and committed suicide, and Liu Bang conquered the world and achieved hegemony. Liu Bang's victory is enough to prove everything. She was lucky to have a life mentor like her elder brother, who made her road to success almost without any setbacks. Now the big ship of the fifth branch is ready and has been launched into the water. As the captain, she only needs to look at the direction and ensure that the ship follows the Thunder Base fleet. The crew will take care of other details for her. Speaking of which, she is much more relaxed than her elder brother. Because she knew that she was not strong enough, she simply gave the power to Sun Qi, who was very capable, and then asked Li Feng to assume the supervisory role. In this way, you can almost become a hands-off shopkeeper. But the eldest brother himself is very capable. Although each of his four-color team is the elite of the elite, strictly speaking, only Blue Snake can make some major decisions for him. But despite this, Blue Snake's personal ability is still far behind that of his elder brother. The problems that Big Brother has to think about and the decisions that need to be made every day, no one can replace him at this time. The eldest brother had mentioned to her many times that he also wanted to leave his official duties and accompany her to kill zombies and live a simple and relaxed life. But with so many people in the Thunder Base relying on him to steer the team alone, he couldn't stop. As the eldest brother's future wife, if he doesn't stop, she can't stop either. Therefore, she will persevere and wait for the day when her eldest brother can free his hands, at least relatively free. When will that day come? Maybe after the safe zone is built. At that time, they no longer have to worry about the arrival of the zombie wave, and the survivors can all live a stable life. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 543. Subordinate, thank you Hall Master for your appreciation. Li Feng's eyes flashed with emotion. He stood up straight and bowed respectfully to Len Ning. Among those who live in building F-06, who wouldn't be grateful to the church leader? In the world, there are always horses that can cover 1,000 li, but not so many bowls. It is a great blessing for people like them to meet the bowl of the Hall Master. Without the Hall Master, how would they have the chance to climb to the heights they are today and see the scenery from above? The kindness of knowing and encountering is like recreating something, so I am naturally grateful. He didn't dare to vouch for others. He, Li Feng, was born as the Hall Master's son, and died as the Hall Master's ghost. The Hall Master has an order, and he will obey it to the death. Len Ning looked at Li Feng and nodded. Preparations for the construction of the safe zone have begun. Sooner or later, Cydia will be dominated by our Thunder Base. And most of the business in the Thunder base is supported by our fifth branch. You still have a lot to do in the future. Don't worry, Master. The Ministry of Commerce has already made plans. We will definitely be at the forefront, Li Feng said immediately. As new sites come out, investment opportunities also come. What their fifth branch is most in need of right now is funds and projects. No one can defeat them when it comes to turf planning. We are all a family. It is appropriate to give the four branches some opportunities. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth and looked at Li Feng. The four-color group often looked for her and tried to get close to her. Borrowing money for projects has never stopped. They were all acquaintances, and it was hard for her to refuse. He just said that he was not in charge of anything at the moment and would tell the people below him and then put it off. But since I agreed, I have to give others some face. Besides, with such a large site and so many projects, their fifth branch alone can't handle it. It is better to only select the best projects and keep them, and give the rest to the four major branch offices according to their quality and inferiority. The last remaining thing, if necessary, can be thrown to outsiders as a favor. Of course, whether to throw it away or not depends on your mood. For example, for those base owners who are willing to merge into the Thunder Safe Zone, the military department will give them a job and at the same time give them some small projects. Such conditions are enough to make many base owners waver. After all, it is much better to stay in a safe and comfortable environment and still have power and money than to live in fear and fear outside. Of course, even those projects that are not that good are limited. It's first come, first served. If the quota is full, the remaining projects will be gone before new ones appear. In addition to the two medium-sized bases that have been merged into the Thunder base, there are actually many bases that are ready to move. Some are waiting and watching, hoping to wait and see the situation before making a decision. Some are thinking of raising the price and asking for more favorable conditions from the Thunder base. Although each major base had its own thoughts, they basically sent some workers one after another to help prepare the safety zone. On the one hand, it is to let the workers make money, and on the other hand, they also want to maintain a good relationship with the Thunder base, so that further action can be taken at any time. The person in charge of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of their Thunder base has already understood the plans of these base owners, and is no longer in a hurry to win over them one by one. Just yesterday, Lu Rud even ordered a pause to allow the people below to take the initiative to contact major bases. According to the information from the Ministry of Intelligence, some bases that had previously raised prices are beginning to become restless. In short, the elder brother is right, everything is under his control. Yes, Li Feng replied to Len Ning with a smile. The four major hall masters not only looked for their hall master, they even looked for him. Many people saw the hall leader hanging out in the safe planning area killing zombies all day long, and felt that she didn't care enough about the fifth branch, or that she didn't care about things. But the real situation is that she has a clear mind about all important matters. He even suspected that the hall master had done it deliberately for people outside to see. After all, by doing this, she got rid of a lot of worldly feelings, and it was regarded as a sacrifice for their fifth branch. Len Ning then asked about the current situation of the fifth branch. By the time he finished talking to Li Feng, an hour had passed. Invite them to come to Lin's together. Just say that I will treat you to dinner today, Len Ning said to Li Feng with a smile. She had left a message for Aunt Yang before, saying that she had an appointment to have dinner with the senior officials of the fifth branch. This is a complete lie. Besides, it's true that she hasn't had dinner with everyone in some days. Take this opportunity to take them out for a nice meal. Yes, Li Feng was overjoyed and immediately went out. Len Ning smiled, stood up and left the study. Soon, a group of people set off in a lively manner and went to Lin's restaurant together. Master, that's not right. Please invite me to dinner. Why didn't Mr. Lei come today? Zhou Tao asked Len Ning with a smile. Len Ning was stunned. Yes, will Mr. Lei come later? Yuan Xing also asked. Mr. Lei kept a close eye on their hall master. How could he let the hall master be with so many single young men this time? Not coming, Len Ning looked at everyone angrily. If he doesn't come, will you still eat? Eat. It's better if you don't come, but if you come, everyone will be more restrained, Zhou Tao said immediately. That's right, Mr. Lei is not here today, so the hall master needs to have 2 more drinks with us, someone else answered. Although there was some booing, everyone was tacitly understanding it, wondering if their hall leader had a quarrel with Mr. Lei or something like that. The leader of their hall was so proud that it was best for them to pretend not to know at this time. When the drinking starts later, they can think of ways to persuade him or something. TCH, Len Ning glanced at everyone angrily and walked directly to the front. The group of people went to Lin's restaurant in a grand manner. Who knew that they had just arrived at Lin's and heard that Lei Lei was already waiting for them? Len Ning immediately realized that something was wrong and quickly began to collude with Zhou Tao and others. When eldest brother asks about it later, just tell me that you invited me for the dinner tonight. Len Ning stopped everyone and said slightly nervously. She didn't expect that her eldest brother would actually chase her here. This matter must not be revealed. Everyone looked puzzled. The hall master they invited? Okay. We understand. Zhou Tao was the first to come to his senses and winked at Len Ning. Oh, don't worry, hall master, we know how to say it, another person said in a strange tone. I know, hall master, don't worry, the others followed suit. Len Ning breathed a sigh of relief and ignored the weird looks on everyone's face. He said directly, the money for the meal will come from the finance department. You guys need to pay for it first. Everyone looked weird. You looked at me and I looked at you, and they all said yes. It's not cheap to come to Lin's for a meal. The host left her diamond VIP card unused and paid for it from the finance. This cost is not small. Their hall leader, although she has powerful powers, is still a little girl. Like other girls, she would do such stupid things when she was angry with her boyfriend. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 544. When they go in later, they have to take the opportunity to talk to Mr. Lei and ask him to be more tolerant and give in to their hall master. No matter how powerful their hall leader is, she is still a girl. Girlfriends should be let go, loved, and cared for, right? Seeing everyone agreeing, Len Ning felt a little relieved, and then he led everyone upstairs to the private room to find Lei Ting. When Lei Lei saw everyone, he calmly tested the situation with them. Seeing that although everyone looked strange, their words were consistent with what Len Ning said, so they didn't go into details. After everyone drank at the dinner table, Zhou Tao couldn't help but start persuading Lei Ting. He told some emotional stories about his brothers and sisters before the end of the world, and so on. They were basically all about how male and female friends get along. The meaning behind the words is the same: girls must be pampered, and they must not be made angry. If you really get angry, you have to find a way to coax him back as soon as possible, otherwise there are many wild wolves outside and he might be picked up. Of course, he didn't think in his heart that any wild wolf would have the guts to poach Mr. Lei. However, as the most loyal subordinate of the hall master, he definitely hopes to stimulate Mr. Lei and make him treat the hall master better. After all, when he chose to end this unrequited love, it took him a long time to get over it. Lei Lei couldn't help but look at Len Ning. At this moment, he finally understood the origin of the strange feeling he felt just now. The co-authors all thought that he had bullied Xiaoning, and they all tried to persuade him to make peace. So, what did Xiaoning tell them? That's why they had this misunderstanding. Xiaoning is my fiancée and the most important person to me. As long as I am here, she will not suffer the slightest injustice. Len Ning looked at the crowd and said, "No one can take Xiaoning from my hands." Ning snatch it away. Everyone was stunned. Then they started clapping and booing, and everyone wanted to toast to Thunder Wine. Lei Lei was not angry and responded one by one. In this way, Len Ning finally managed to survive and get over the situation. The next day, Len Ning had given instructions to Li Feng early, and when the time came, he sneaked out of the safe zone and headed towards the location informed by Zhang Huai. When she was about to reach her destination, she chose to walk. There are indeed many more zombies near the bus station than in other places in the southern part of the city. Fortunately, Len Ning was very skilled and had Xiaoman at his side, so the journey was smooth. It was still early when she arrived at her destination. Len Ning looked at her watch and it was only 3 o'clock, which was half an hour earlier than when Zhang Huai asked her to make an appointment. With nothing to do, Len Ning simply killed zombies in the parking lot. While killing, look for Zhang Huai's figure. In order not to leave traces, this matter is quite troublesome. She did not dare to let the zombie corpses lie on the ground like this, but took all the effort to collect them into the space jade. About 15 minutes later, just when she was getting a little impatient, she finally saw a sneaky figure at the entrance of the station. Because of the distance, Len Ning was not sure whether the other party was a friend or an enemy, so he sneaked over. When he saw that the person coming was Yan Yu, Len Ning finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Why is it just you, Teacher Zhang?" Len Ning said directly to Yan Yu, who was looking around, successfully shocking Yan Yu. "Teacher Zhang is with Zhang Lin. Let me come here to pick you up regardless of fear." Yan Yu lowered his voice and replied to Len Ning. Over the past few days, Teacher Zhang had been tolerant of Zhang Lin, but he kept pushing further. A while ago, he even designed and sent someone to kill Teacher Zhang. If Teacher Zhang hadn't had a high level of supernatural powers and strong strength, he might have been killed by Zhang Lin. They persuaded Teacher Zhang repeatedly, and Teacher Zhang finally made up his mind to get rid of Zhang Lin to protect himself. Then he called Len Ning and invited her to come over for help. Before he came over, he was worried that she might not come on time. "It's fine now. There is no accident. Today is Zhang Lin's death day. What did you plan? Where to start?" Len Ning continued to ask. "It's right here." Yan Yu raised his wrist and looked at his watch. "Wait another 10 minutes, Teacher Zhang will come with Zhang Lin." Yan Yu looked at Len Ning again. "Let's ambush him first. Maybe we can kill him with one blow." "I am ambushing you. Find a place to hide yourself and don't cause trouble." Len Ning glanced at Yan Yu. "There are experts following Zhang Lin, and when the time comes, he will definitely pick up the weak ones first. Even if you don't kill people, you will control them and use them as hostages. Yan Yu's stay would only be a disservice. After all, I am also a level 3 superpower." Looking at Len Ning's expression, Yan Yu didn't say the next words. Compared with Teacher Zhang and Len Ning, his strength seems to be. "Okay, I'll leave it to you then." The matter was urgent, and he didn't bother to argue. Just do as Len Ning said, as long as he can kill Zhang Lin later to complete the task. Len Ning nodded and signaled Yan Yu to leave quickly. Yan Yu glanced at Len Ning again, then turned around and hurried outside. After Yan Yu disappeared, Len Ning turned around and looked at the parking lot. Yan Yu was right, it would indeed save a lot of trouble if he could kill with one strike. But the person she wanted to kill with one blow was not Zhang Lin, but the mysterious master. After all, she still had to save Zhang Lin's life and ask about Han Yu's whereabouts. Killing a mid-level third-level lightning master is not an easy task. But it's worth trying. At this moment, Len Ning found a good ambush position. Without hesitation, Len Ning ran forward quickly, then climbed up the railing on the second floor and hid behind a table in an abandoned hotel. Then Len Ning took out a sniper rifle from the space ring and began to install it skillfully. In less than half a minute, Len Ning had already picked up the sniper rifle and looked through the scope at the station entrance. Now all she had to do was wait. Time passed by minute by minute. Finally, several figures appeared. It was the Zhang family brothers and a few dozen or so accompanying people. The corners of Len Ning's mouth curled up, and a wicked smile appeared on his face. She has already seen the mysterious master that teacher Zhang mentioned. I saw that the man was quite tall, and his face was covered with a kind of facial scarf that was very popular before the apocalypse. It should be to cover the scars on his face and keep out the cold. Len Ning began to observe him through the scope, looking for opportunities to strike. She had to be patient until they all entered the station. In this way, teacher Zhang can cooperate with her to cut off their escape route, leaving them with no way to escape. Suddenly, something strange flashed in Len Ning's eyes. That mysterious master actually made her feel familiar, and this feeling was getting stronger and stronger. Closing her eyes, Len Ning calmed down her emotions. It was just an illusion, she had to concentrate. At the same time, Zhang Huai couldn't help but began to look around secretly. He had previously arranged for Yan Yu to come and pick up Len Ning, but now that both of them are gone, he doesn't know if they are ambushing him somewhere. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 545. Didn't you say that this station is semi-enclosed and it is easy for zombies to gather? There is obviously not a single zombie at all, Zhang Lin said to Zhang Huai unhappily. At the same time, he gave the mysterious master a look. Immediately, the mysterious master and the few people accompanying Zhang Lin slowly dispersed, surrounding Zhang Huai and the two people he brought with him. Their eyes were full of evil intentions, and it was obvious what they had planned. Len Ning looked at the scene and laughed a little in his heart. These two brothers are interesting. One planned to trick the other party into coming here to trap and kill him, and even asked her to be his helper. The other one also had this idea, so he was so cooperative. Zhang Lin, what do you mean? Zhang Huai looked at the mysterious master warily, and under the protection of two attendants, he asked Zhang Lin. Yes, he only brought two people with him. Because the less people know about killing Zhang Lin, the better, and more people can easily cause trouble. But Zhang Lin was different. In addition to the mysterious master, he also brought 6 powerful people with special powers in order to execute him in the station. Don't you know what I mean? Zhang Lin glanced at Zhang Huai with disdain. I warned you before, telling you to behave like a silent dog. But you insist on acting like a human, and you still want to fight with me. I didn't, Zhang Huai immediately retorted. You forced me. We are all my father's sons, Zhang Lin, why do you humiliate me like this? Knowing that only one person could live between himself and Zhang Lin today, Zhang Huai no longer wanted to pretend or tolerate it. Why? Why? My mother is the royal wife, and your mother is a slut. Ba Zhang Lin spit on the ground, his disgust palpable. This made Zhang Huai so angry that his eyes turned red. You are talking nonsense. Your mother was already dead when my mother was with my father. She is right. You are not allowed to insult my mother again. At the last sentence, Zhang Huai was so angry that he seemed to want to step forward and kill Zhang immediately. About to tear. What's wrong with me just insulting you? You're just like your mother, a bitch. Zhang Lin enjoyed Zhang Huai's painful expression at this moment. Zhang Lin, a storm rolled up in Zhang Huai's eyes, and strength began to accumulate in his hands. But immediately, the mysterious master stood in front of Zhang Lin to protect Zhang Lin. When Zhang Huai saw this, he couldn't help but have a look of fear on his face, and slowly backed away. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you, Zhang Huai, just accept your fate. As he retreated, Zhang Lin made a hand gesture to the men he brought with him. Immediately, the superpowers who had just surrounded Zhang Huai slowly moved closer to Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai's expression became nervous and he was anxious. Is Len Ning here? Why haven't you taken action yet? Seeing that the mysterious master had begun to accumulate the power of thunder and lightning, Zhang Huai's expression turned cold and he was ready to fight head-on with the local area. At this moment, a bullet flew towards the temple of the mysterious master. Unfortunately, almost at the same time, the mysterious master threw two short lightning blades in the direction of Len Ning's position. The short blade was so sharp that it actually blocked the bullet and made the bullet fly away. Len Ning's eyes pierced, and he flew down from the second floor. At the same time, the location where she was just now was destroyed by the remaining short lightning blade, and a large area on the second floor was carbonized into black. This change happened so suddenly that everyone at the scene was shocked. Yes, this strength is probably at the peak of the third level. The plot failed, and he was attacked by the opponent instead. Len Ning was not embarrassed at all, but said to the opponent jokingly, "With such great talent and strength, it would be a pity to kill him." Zhang Huai finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Len Ning appear. But when Len Ning said that Zhang Lin's helper's strength had reached the peak of the third level, he began to feel frightened again. The eyes looking at each other became more and more wary. When the master saw Len Ning's appearance, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes, but quickly calmed down and looked at Zhang Lin. "Why are you here?" Zhang Lin asked angrily when he saw Len Ning. But after the words came out, before Len Ning could answer, he guessed what was going on. "Zhang Huai, you dare to hire someone to kill me," he shouted angrily at Zhang Huai. The corner of Zhang Huai's mouth raised in a sarcastic arc, and he no longer bothered to talk to Zhang Lin anymore. Zhang Lin was furious when he saw Zhang Huai's attitude. "This bitch. Hey, you said it wrong. I wasn't hired by teacher Zhang. It's just that you were in my way, so you volunteered to help." Len Ning couldn't see it and interrupted. Zhang Lin immediately looked at Len Ning. "What did I do to you?" he said almost with a hint of hatred. It was obvious that she was teasing him on purpose. Before she went to the Quanglin base, he was very involved in her affairs. She didn't appreciate it and let it go. In the end, she returned the favor and gave all the benefits to Zhang Huai. After that, he continued to help Zhang Huai fight against him. Did he offend this woman in his previous life? If he hadn't known that her powers had reached the fourth level and that she had been defeated by 1 against 10,000 on the battlefield, he would have had her chopped into pieces at this moment. The smile on Len Ning's face slowly faded, and his expression began to become dangerous and gloomy. "Where is Han Yu?" Zhang Lin was stunned for a moment. "What Han Yu? I don't know." Then he immediately pretended to be confused. "What is that woman's background?" "The people over at the Southern Army base want her, so does this girl want her?" Seeing Zhang Lin's reaction, Len Ning raised a cruel smile on his lips. "I originally wanted to spare your life, but you didn't want it yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, a black wooden stick appeared in Len Ning's hand. Everyone looked at the wooden stick, and their eyes became frightened. They had never seen this weapon, but they had heard of it. It is said that the true form of the stick is a man-eating vine, which is almost invincible to anyone. "Len Ning, what do you want to do?" "I'm warning you, Father and the others know that I went down the mountain with Zhang Huai. If they know that you want to kill me, even the Thunder base can't protect you." Seeing that Len Ning really wanted to attack him, Zhang Lin panicked and hurriedly hid behind the mysterious master. Len Ning then looked at the mysterious master again. "Are you sure you want to protect him?" and then asked. The mysterious master's head was buried a little low, making it difficult for people to see his expression clearly. "Scar, how dare you? I saved you back then." Not hearing the mysterious master's rebuttal to Len Ning, Zhang Lin suddenly became anxious and shouted at the mysterious master. A look of disgust flashed across the face of the mysterious master. Then he stepped aside, exposing Zhang Lin behind him opposite Len Ning. "Let me go, pretend I didn't see this," then he said in a hoarse voice from Len Ning. Len Ning was slightly startled. That strange feeling came again. Just when she turned her inquiring eyes to the mysterious master, Zhonglin had already begun to curse. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 546. Scar, you son of a bitch. How dare you betray me? The irritability on the face of the mysterious master became more and more intense, but due to the presence of Len Ning, he did not speak. Seeing Len Ning walking towards him step by step, Zhonglin panicked. Suddenly, a vine came quickly, and its sharp tip hovered directly 1 centimeter away from his eyebrows. Don't kill me, Len Ning, don't kill me. I'll give Han Yu to you. I'll give Han Yu to you. Zhonglin was trembling all over at this moment, and he was not as arrogant as before. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. Where is the person? Then asked. Zhang Huai, who was not far away, frowned and looked at Len Ning. Just as he was about to speak, he was stopped by Len Ning's gesture. Zhang Huai took back what he wanted to say and waited aside. Zhonglin must die today, otherwise he will have endless troubles. Let me go back to Quanglin base, and I will hand Han Yu over to you, Zhonglin said hurriedly. Len Ning's lips curled up. It's a beautiful thought. Have you never heard of letting the tiger go back to the mountain, and there will be endless troubles, Len Ning said with a smile. A flash of anger flashed in Zhonglin's eyes, but he didn't dare to shout at Len Ning. Then how can you promise that you will let me go when I hand over Han Yu? Zhonglin finally calmed down a little and was ready to negotiate terms with Len Ning. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. Do you think you have a choice? Then he said with a bit of contempt. Zhonglin's expression changed again. Then he started looking around in panic. But after looking around, he found that except for Scar, the rest of the people he brought with him were also avoiding their eyes, and they were obviously no longer willing to obey his orders. You want to silence him? Zhonglin asked Len Ning with fear and anger. The smile on Len Ning's face disappeared and she looked at Zhonglin coldly. Leave Han Yu to me, so that I can save your life. The cold eyes made Zhonglin's legs tremble again. He couldn't help but turn his attention to Zhang Huai. Seeing Zhang Huai's vicious eyes, Zhonglin felt that death was so close to him. Suddenly, Zhonglin's eyes flashed and he looked at the mysterious master again. Scar, you want to abandon me and join the new master, but you don't even think about it. It was you who persuaded me to capture Han Yu in the first place, Zhonglin said angrily to Scar. At this time, the only one who has the ability to take him out of here is Scar. Either he takes him away, or he drags him to death with him. A hint of gloom flashed across the face of the mysterious master. He noticed that Len Ning was already looking at him, but his head was still lowered. It was you who persuaded me to contact those people at the Southern Army base, Zhonglin continued. The mysterious master's eyes changed, and then he turned around sharply and punched Zhonglin in the stomach with a fist. Unfortunately, a vine quickly wrapped around his hand and pulled him away. Upon seeing this, Zhonglin looked at the mysterious master with fear in his eyes. You! Shut up! Zhang Lingang was about to continue cursing the mysterious master, but was stopped by Len Ning. As expected, the plain matter has something to do with the southern military base. This scar face is a bit interesting. Zhonglin looked horrified and did not dare to say any more. Len Ning was seen walking dangerously towards the mysterious master. Raise your head. Looking at the mysterious master, Len Ning said in a deep voice. Master Len, don't listen to his nonsense. He ordered me to capture the person. Contacting the Southern Army base was just a suggestion I gave him as a subordinate, the mysterious master said in a low voice without raising his head. Look up and take off your scarf. Len Ning's voice became more and more dangerous. This person gave her such a weird feeling. He dodges himself one after another, unwilling to reveal his true appearance, which only makes him look more and more suspicious. The mysterious master had a meal. The villain has an ugly face, and I'm afraid that he will stain the Hall Master's eyes. Then he cupped his fists and said to Len Ning. Everyone looked at Len Ning nervously. Why does she want to look at other people's faces? You're not that curious, right? The scar is really ugly, and the half of the scar seen from the outside is scary enough. I usually cover it up just to avoid scaring others. I'm not afraid. Len Ning was still looking at the mysterious master, as if he wanted to find out. Suddenly, the mysterious master suddenly accumulated strength, and then, with lightning speed, a thunder whip struck towards Len Ning's face. Len Ning immediately moved. Xiaoman immediately counterattacked with thunder whip, blocking the attack. But because of the huge energy of the thunder whip, Xiaoman was also broken and burned many vines. Len Ning still heard Xiaoman's cry of pain in the sea of consciousness. The change came so fast that no one had time to react. Hearing another ah sound, the mysterious master punched Zhang Lin directly through his chest. Because the fist carried the power of thunder and lightning, the area around Zhang Lin's chest was completely black, and the scene looked particularly terrifying. Unexpectedly, the mysterious master would suddenly attack him, and Zhang Lin's eyes widened. But except for the scream that he couldn't scream loudly because of the severe pain, he could no longer make any sound. Just like that, he fell straight down. The mysterious master did not hesitate. After pulling his fist out of Zhang Lin's chest, he immediately ran towards the exit of the station. Stop him, Len Ning shouted immediately. Zhang Huai came to his senses and quickly gathered his mental strength to block the mysterious master. At the same time, Xiaoman's vines also arrived. The mysterious master turned around and saw a huge plant on the ground, and Len Ning was standing in mid-air, being supported by the plant's vines. Like a monster, she directed dozens of sharp vines towards his face. These vines were completely different from what he had seen just now. They were silver-gray like metal, with sharp barbs growing on the edges of each vine, and the tips were in the shape of sharp probes. It is conceivable that if you are entangled by these vines, as long as you are gently pulled, the flesh on your body will be torn away from the bones immediately. The mysterious master's expression changed, and he immediately gathered his lightning sword to fight against the vines. When the thunder sword confronted the vines, he realized that the situation was more serious than he thought. His lightning sword, which was strong enough to penetrate steel, had little effect on the vines. At most, it could only repel them briefly, and could not even cut them off. Moreover, the repulsed vines only temporarily shrank back. After a while, they would immediately attack him again. And the force of the attack seemed to be venting his emotions, getting stronger every time. At this moment, he finally understood that Len Ning was now stronger than he thought before. 1 for 10,000, that was before. With her current strength, one person can easily defeat tens of thousands. Determined that he could not defeat Len Ning, the mysterious master once again set his sights on Zhang Huai. If he wants to escape, he must find a breakthrough from Zhang Huai. Or, take him and use him as a hostage. Thinking of this, the mysterious master tried his best to resist Len Ning while dodging the attack from Zhang Huai. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 547. And carefully and secretly look for opportunities. Seeing that several pieces of flesh on his body had been torn off, he finally found an opportunity. Without any hesitation, the mysterious master suddenly rushed out and knocked out the thunder weapon in Zhang Huai's hand. Then, he quickly rushed behind Zhang Huai, held Zhang Huai in front of his chest, and thrust a lightning short blade across Zhang Huai's neck. The change happened so quickly that Zhang Huai couldn't survive and became meat on the chopping block. We will die together. The mysterious master looked fiercely at the vines rushing toward him again, and shouted at Len Ning. Because this time he did not deliberately suppress his voice, Len Ning instantly recognized the identity of the mysterious master. Then, with rage in her eyes, she desperately urged Xiao Man, and the number of vines doubled in an instant, and they flew towards the person on the opposite side. Zhang Huai's pupils dilated, and the crazy shadows of vines were reflected in his eyes. Just when he thought he would be riddled with holes along with Scar, the vine suddenly stopped less than 50 centimeters away from him and Scar. Then, Len Ning commanded the vines to retreat. Then she made the vine disappear and turned into a small green vine, which wrapped around her wrist. The fear in the eyes of Zhang Huai and the mysterious master dissipated a little. The two men breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Their lives were saved. At this time, the lightning short blade in the hands of the mysterious master was embedded in the flesh of Zhang Huai's neck. The pain brought Zhang Huai back to his senses and moved his body, hoping to make the mysterious master relax. "Don't move." The mysterious master did not relax, but warned Zhang Huai, his voice a bit ferocious. Zhang Huai was in pain and did not dare to move. "I didn't expect you to be alive." Len Ning raised his eyes and looked at the mysterious master opposite. Yes, this person turned out to be the Huo Xiao who was knocked off the cliff by her and should have died long ago. She had doubted Guo Zhonglin's words before, thinking that he was trying to lure Huo Xiao into trouble, so she made the nonsense that it was Huo Xiao's intention to arrest Han Yu. But now it seems that Zhonglin's words are true. Very good, Huo Xiao and Han Yu, these two scourges have come together again. Huo Xiao glanced at Len Ning and used his other hand to pull off the face towel he had been wearing, revealing a ferocious and terrifying face. I saw a scar that extended half of his face, like a centipede, lying on half of Huo Xiao's face. His originally soft and handsome face turned into a sinister and terrifying one. "It's me." Huo Xiao looked back at Len Ning. His eyes were sinister. "I've been lurking in Quanglin base for so long, but I didn't expect to be found by you." Huo Xiao's eyes were full of hatred. He hid in the Quanglin base and worked as a subordinate to that good-for-nothing Zhonglin in order to avoid Len Ning and find a chance to take revenge. He kept this scar on his face just to remind himself of Len Ning, his enemy. As long as he cannot take revenge, he will have no peace and can only hide in a dark corner and become a ghost. In order to become stronger, he seized every opportunity he could. Training beyond the physical load, and in order to obtain high-level crystal cores, he worked for the Southern Army base and lurked in the Quanglin base as an internal agent. He was working almost desperately to become stronger, but his enemy was growing faster. Not only did his abilities increase faster than him, but he also became the leader of the fifth branch of the Thunder base, with unlimited glory. Just recently, he finally found out after a lot of effort that the Thunder base can actually produce a special pill that can help people at the peak of their superpower levels advance. Zhang Huai and his men were able to reach the third level only with the help of the pill. This made him almost mad. In order to become stronger and take revenge, he can be cruel to himself. But if his opponent uses a cheat, no matter how hard he practices, he is still no match for him. After that, after calming down, he felt the strange feeling that Len Ning gave him again. He was absolutely sure that it was the first time he had seen Len Ning before. At that time, he brought money with him and really wanted to join the Thunder base. But she didn't hesitate to set him up and kill him. Afterwards, he thought back and found that from beginning to end, she had never considered letting him join the Thunder base. Even when she saw him for the first time, she was already murderous. Combined with the rumors he heard about her after coming to Quanglin base, she was definitely a talent-loving person in the eyes of others. He has never been able to figure out why this woman was so cruel to him. Until he unexpectedly learned that she secretly went to Hanzhou to meet a woman, and that woman's name was Han Yu. Yes, it was such a coincidence that the name of the person she mentioned when she killed him was Han Yu. She hated the woman named Han Yu as much as she hated him. Out of curiosity and not wanting her to go smoothly, he suggested to Zhonglin that Han Yu be kidnapped. Later, he even robbed people himself. Then, he began to approach Han Yu intentionally and asked her about her relationship with Len Ning from the side. Unfortunately, it turned out that Han Yu herself didn't know why Len Ning hated her, or she didn't even know that Len Ning hated her. This result disappointed him, but the next accident gave him a surprise. Because he accidentally discovered that Han Yu was actually related to the Southern Army base, and she was also the daughter of an adult there who was living abroad. He was sure that Han Yu was of great value, so of course he couldn't let him go. The Southern Army base has great intentions for City A, and will definitely be in the same boat as the Thunder base in the future. He and Len Ning are enemies, and they are also enemies of Thunder base. He wanted to get ahead, so joining the Southern Army base was the best choice, and most likely his only choice. As long as he takes care of and coaxes Han Yu well and sends Han Yu back to the Southern Army base. With her speaking for him and his abilities, he doesn't have to worry about his future. In fact, he was not in such a hurry. He wanted to cultivate a relationship with Han Yu more and make her more dependent on him and unable to live without him. Who knew that today he would accompany Zhang Lin to fall into a trap and put himself in such a dangerous situation? Before his strength could surpass Len Ning, he fell into her hands again. A cold smile appeared on Len Ning's lips. What grudge do I have against you? Why do you insist on putting me to death? Huo Xiao felt that Len Ning's smile was particularly dazzling and asked almost through gritted teeth. Len Ning raised his eyes and looked at Huo Xiao. It doesn't matter. Just know that I will decide your life. It was my mistake to let you live for so long. This time, I will end it with my own hands and watch you die. Len Ning's eyes became cold again, as if Huo Xiao opposite him would soon turn into a corpse. Huo Xiao subconsciously held the lightning short blade tighter, pressing it against Zhang Huai's neck, threatening Len Ning not to come near. Now that Zhang Lin is dead, I am the only one who knows Han Yu's whereabouts. You can't kill me. Huo Xiao looked at Len Ning and said. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 548. And him. Huo Xiao glanced at the hostage in his hand. Your Thunder base wants to control Quanglin base through him. If he dies, Quanglin will never compromise with you. Zhang Huai looked at Len Ning nervously, not daring to speak because his throat was cut. Opposite him, Len Ning's expression was so terrifying that he was really afraid that she would rush over and kill the Scarface at all costs. And Scarface will definitely take him to be buried with him before he dies. You can see it clearly. Len Ning smiled contemptuously. Leave Han Yu and him to me, and let you go this time, then he said. There was a flash of fluctuation in Huo Xiao's eyes. It's a deal. Don't worry, I won't break my promise, Len Ning said in a disdainful tone. Letting you go doesn't mean that you can't be captured or killed. Where is Han Yu? Without pausing, Len Ning looked at Huo Xiao with displeasure. The city lord's mansion, in the basement of Jianglin courtyard. Huo Xiao didn't waste any time. Len Ning's eyes flashed. You dash then, he immediately looked at Zhang Lin's entourage who was hiding not far away from their fight. Several members of the entourage there looked at me and I looked at you, and finally one person was pushed out. Leng Hall Master Lang, seeing that he had already come out of the queue, the man had no choice but to bite the bullet and salute Len Ning with his fists raised. Young Master Zhang took you with him when he did such an important thing. You should be qualified to enter his yard, right? Len Ning asked. The man glanced at the other people behind him on the left and right. Yes, then he said to Len Ning anxiously. Okay. You go and bring the woman in the basement of the young master's yard here, Len Ning said directly. The man was startled and immediately looked up at Len Ning. Seeing Len Ning's cold expression, he quickly lowered his head. When you go back, you will know what to say and what not to say, Len Ning said in a deep voice. Yes. The villain knows, the man responded quickly. Goodbye, little man. After glancing at his colleagues who were looking at him enviously, the man ran away quickly. There are 3 masters with abnormal strength here, and they may fight again at any time. You are not very lucky to be able to leave at this time. Now that the eldest young master is dead, there is only one heir left in Quanglan base, the second young master. How to make a decision? There is no need to use your brain to judge this matter. If he is running errands for Hall Master Leng, he is running errands for the second young master. After what happened today, the second young master may not hold any grudge against him anymore. From now on, he will follow the second young master at Quanglan base, and he may still have a future. After the man left, Len Ning looked at Huo Xiao again. Soon, we will know whether what you said is true or false. Huo Xiao glanced at Len Ning angrily. Of course it's true. As long as you let me go, he doesn't have to die. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. Don't worry, wait until Han Yu arrives. It will be his turn. A sad expression flashed across Zhang Huai's face, but he felt much more relaxed in his heart. At least for the time being, he didn't have to worry about his life being in danger. We need time to wait for others now. Huo Xiao, why don't we have a chat? Can you tell me about the Southern Army base? Len Ning raised the corners of his mouth, and all the hostility in his body disappeared. I have nothing to talk to you about. Huo Xiao frowned and replied immediately. The words Southern Army base were mentioned by Zhang Lin just now. But for some reason, he always felt that Len Ning actually knew about Zhang Lin's collusion with the Southern Army base. Moreover, the fact that she knew this was most likely not from the intelligence personnel of Thunder Base. After all, only a handful of people in Quanglan Base knew about the Southern Army base. At the same time, Huo Xiao's eyes changed slightly. Len Ning glanced to the side, and then the green vines flew out from her wrist. Then, Zhang Lin, who had turned into a zombie and stood up again, was twisted into a rice dumpling by several vines and thrown to the ground. Accompanied by the strange cry of GG coming from its mouth, the scene actually seemed a bit funny. Huo Xiao saw a trace of disappointment in his eyes when he saw that Len Ning had seen through his little thoughts. At the same time, there were zombies coming in from outside. Len Ning only glanced at the 2 people brought by Zhang Huai, and they spontaneously went to deal with the wandering corpses. At this moment, no zombies will interfere in this empty parking lot. Len Ning smiled and looked at Huo Xiao again. It will take half an hour to go back to Quanglan base to pick up people from here, and then send them here. Isn't it boring to just stand like this? Since you don't want to talk about the Southern Army base, let's talk about it. If I let you go later, where should you escape to? Huo Xiao's expression darkened, and a look of irritation flashed across his face. So many pairs of eyes saw you killing Zhang Lin. You will definitely not be able to return to Quanglan base, Len Ning said, looking around at the men Zhang Lin brought with him. Seeing Huo Xiao looking at them, everyone quickly stepped back and avoided Huo Xiao's eyes. Not only can't you return to Quanglan base, but if you kill City Lord Jiang's beloved son, he will definitely not let you go. By then, there will be wanted notices offering rewards for your capture in all the major bases in City A. Len Ning still smiled gently. Opposite Huo Xiao was different, his eyes became more and more gloomy. At this time, it should be your best choice to leave Quanglan and go to the Southern Army base. As soon as Len Ning finished speaking, he saw a flash of panic on Huo Xiao's face. Obviously, she guessed correctly. What a pity. The Southern Army base is in City B. With your own efforts, are you sure you can survive there? Len Ning continued. How do you know that the Southern Army base is in City B? Huo Xiao asked Len Ning fiercely. If she knew about the Southern Army base, it was because Zhang Lin mentioned it just now. But Zhang Lin had never mentioned the address of the Southern Army base. How did she know it? Thinking of all the weird things about Len Ning and looking at her strangely smiling face, Huo Xiao felt a chill running down his spine. I dare to say it. Do you dare to listen? Len Ning said deliberately. It wasn't that she was really ready to tell her secret, but she felt particularly enjoying looking at Huo Xiao's frightened expression. Moreover, I want to enjoy it even more. Shut up, seeing Len Ning trying to speak, Huo Xiao said loudly. Then he used another force and forced the lightning short blade into Zhang Huai's neck again. Zhang Huai felt a sharp pain, and a string of blood flowed from his neck, and he quickly looked at Len Ning for help. His life is still in Huo Xiao's hands, can you think of him for a little bit? Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth, if you don't say it, then don't say it. Seeing Zhang Huai's miserable appearance and Huo Xiao's frightened and restless aura, Len Ning curled his lips and continued to say to Huo Xiao, be careful and take your time. If I really kill the second young master, I will take your life directly. Huo Xiao then relaxed the lightning short blade slightly, allowing Zhang Huai to breathe. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Qi Now. Chapter 549. Zhang Huai immediately turned his grateful eyes to Len Ning. But I'm counting on you to save me. Len Ning gave Zhang Huai a look, telling him to feel relieved. But how can Zhang Huai dare to rest assured? He just hopes that Len Ning can take it more seriously. Her appearance really made him feel uneasy. The two sides then faced off, and the scene finally fell into silence. Huo Xiao didn't relax at all, he held Zhang Huai on guard, and at the same time he was wary of Len Ning. Len Ning was not allowed to seize the slightest chance. Finally, about half an hour later, a car drove in from outside the station. Finally, the car stopped in the open space next to the three people. Then, a person came down from the cab. It was the person who had been arranged by Len Ning to leave here to pick up Han Yu. After the man got out of the car, he immediately went around to the back row and pulled a woman out from the back row. A flash of bloodthirsty emotion flashed in Len Ning's eyes, that woman was Han Yu. Because she was afraid that Han Yu would yell, her hands were tied behind her back and tape was taped on her mouth. Due to his weak strength, even though Han Yu struggled hard, it was of no use and he was quickly dragged to Len Ning by the man. When Han Yu discovered that the person in front of him turned out to be Len Ning, Han Yu, who originally chose to cooperate because of violence, became excited again. Yeah, shouted in the direction of Len Ning. He also moved his body in the direction of Len Ning, trying to run to Len Ning's side. Unfortunately, she was dragged by the person who brought her here and couldn't get close to Len Ning. Master Len, I brought him here. The man easily pulled Han Yu and bowed to Len Ning. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth and said, yes, she is the one I want. You take her over there and wait. Then he looked not far away. Yes, the man immediately dragged Han Yu to the side. Han Yu said twice and saw that Len Ning ignored her. He also thought that the person who kidnapped him just now was very respectful to Len Ning, and he quickly guessed that he should be Len Ning's subordinate. Therefore, Han Yu stopped struggling and followed the man aside obediently. Len Ning left her in Hanzhou and asked her to wait for her, saying that he would take her to the Thunder base. She thought she was finally out of her misery. Len Ning finally told Sister Kui about Len Ning's identity and said that Len Ning would take her away soon and she could no longer use her to make money. But Sister Kui didn't believe it at all. Instead, she said she was delusional, saying how could a rag like her have such a noble best friend. Then, Sister Kui not only did not let her rest, but arranged more guests for her, and asked her to receive guests day and night. She even suspected that she was deliberately trying to kill her. Continuously picking up customers, even some perverted ones, made her faint several times while picking up customers. Who knew that after waking up, Sister Kui still didn't let her rest, and immediately arranged new guests for her. She once collapsed and wanted to commit suicide, but she didn't dare. He also annoyed the guests by crying and was treated even more cruelly. After that, she didn't dare to cry anymore. She made up her mind to hold on and wait for Len Ning to come back to pick her up. Len Ning told her at that time that she would leave Quanglin base soon. That time was really damn long. She endured inhuman torture, waiting and waiting, but in the end she didn't come. Instead, a man with a scar on his face came. He told her that his name was Huo Xiao. At first, she thought that Huo Xiao was just like those men who came to have fun. She even tried to please him because of the scar on his face, fearing that she would have to suffer physical pain again. She could see the desire for her in Huo Xiao's eyes, but he did nothing. Instead, he asked her if she wanted to go with him. She was hesitant. Because she has to wait for Lenning. As long as she waits for Lenning, she can go to the Thunder base and live a good life. But she wasn't sure whether Lenning would really come back to pick her up. If she doesn't come back, she will have to live in the hell of Hanjiao forever until she dies. After that, Huo Xiao made the decision for her, knocked her unconscious and took her away. When she woke up again, she was already in the basement of Jianglin courtyard. Only then did she know that Huo Xiao had kidnapped her under orders, and the person who gave the order was Zhang Lin. She knew Zhang Lin. He was the prince of Quanglin base and their teacher Jiang's half-brother. She felt uneasy, not knowing why Zhang Lin tied her up and imprisoned her so close to him. In order to survive, she could only find ways to please Zhang Lin and wait for an opportunity to find out the reason. Unfortunately, Zhang Lin was not very interested in her and didn't like to talk to her. She could only deduce from his words and expressions that Zhang Lin arrested her because of her relationship with teacher Zhang. Zhang Lin had a bad relationship with teacher Zhang, so he took out his grievances on her. Secondly, she also learned from Zhang Lin that Len Ning had also offended him. It is very possible that he arrested her to take revenge on Len Ning. She really felt angry and aggrieved about this. She had no grievances, but she was actually implicated and ended up being imprisoned. But she soon calmed down. Here in Zhonglin, at least she no longer has to pick up customers every day, and no one will beat her up anymore. And what she eats and uses every day is pretty good. It was only after a few days that she realized that her daily necessities and food were so good because of Huo Xiao's special care. Huo Xiao was really interested in her and would visit her every other day at first. Will ask about her living conditions, mood, etc. He will also tell her some outside things, especially about Len Ning. She could feel that Huo Xiao was very interested in Len Ning and would often ask her questions about Len Ning. After listening to it too many times, she felt very irritable. Perhaps it was because Huo Xiao was so good to her that she couldn't control herself and got angry at him that time. As soon as she got angry, she regretted it. She almost forgot that she was a prisoner. Although Huo Xiao cannot decide her life or death, he can control her life. But she, who had always been tactful, couldn't help but apologize to Huo Xiao. Huo Xiao left after that and didn't see her for many days. It was also in those days that she found that she missed Huo Xiao very much. It's not that I'm worried that he will make things difficult for me in life, but that I really miss him. Finally, Huo Xiao appeared again a week later. The moment she saw Huo Xiao, her heart was more joyful than a bird. At that moment she was sure that she was in love with this man who was respectful and polite to her and had a good temper. Then, without giving Huo Xiao a chance to speak, she rushed up, hugged his neck, and kissed his lips. He was a little shocked. But soon, he became the guest and conquered her. They were almost in love that day, and she felt the joy and beauty of being a woman for the first time. The ultimate enjoyment of mind and body once again made her feel the beauty of life and life. After waking up and looking at Huo Xiao who was resting with his eyes closed, she couldn't help but trace the scars on Huo Xiao's face with her fingers. At this time, she discovered that Huo Xiao was actually a pretty good-looking man. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 550. If the unsightly scar were removed, his appearance would definitely be comparable to that of a schoolboy before the end of the world. Suddenly I remembered that scars are scars, and powerful healing power users are fully capable of repairing scars. She was overjoyed and immediately asked Huo Xiao why he didn't find a healing power user to restore his appearance. But Huo Xiao actually frowned and moved her hand away. He said yes, he kept the scar as a memorial. There was a feeling of dissatisfaction in her heart, and she was about to ask him what he was commemorating, but she saw impatience flashing in his eyes. The last time he looked like this was before he disappeared. There was a panic in her heart, and she dared to ask more questions. In the days that followed, Huo Xiao came to spend more time with her, and they naturally became a couple. He even promised her that he would take her out of the cellar and live a good life outside. She was happy during this period. When she was alone, she couldn't help but fantasize about living with Huo Xiao in the future. She no longer complained about everything, and no longer even expected that Len Ning would come to pick her up and take her to live in the Thunder Base. As long as she can be with Huo Xiao, she will feel happy even if her life is harder. What's more, Huo Xiao is very capable and can help her live a good life with his own strength. She no longer envied Len Ning. Compared with being a wealthy lady or marrying a rich man she didn't like in the future, Huo Xiao was very good. The key is that she and Huo Xiao love each other deeply. But just over half an hour ago, a man suddenly appeared, tied her up and took her away. Of course she refused to leave, she wanted to wait for Huo Xiao. She was even more worried that Huo Xiao would not be able to find her when he returned to the cellar. But she was no match for the superpower, and resistance would have no effect. Seeing the car driving her away from Quanglan Base, tears kept flowing from her eyes. She had just gained love and had expectations for the future, so why did she lose everything overnight? This time, who caught her, and what is waiting for her? In a desperate mood, the car stopped quickly. Then, she was dragged out of the car by her captor. Then, she actually met Len Ning. Seeing that her captor was respectful to Len Ning, she suddenly had a suspicion in her heart and felt relieved. If it's Len Ning, then she must be safe. The person who kidnapped her was most likely sent by Len Ning to rescue her. But before she could be happy, she saw Huo Xiao here. Moreover, he was holding weapons and holding teacher Zhang hostage as he stood opposite Len Ning. Han Yu struggled again, staring in the direction of Huo Xiao, wanting to speak to Huo Xiao. But she was weak and couldn't break free from the clutches of the superpower behind her, so she could only be pulled away. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth and looked at Huo Xiao, who was looking at the opposite side and not looking at Han Yu at all. It's so heartless. After saying something to Huo Xiao, Len Ning looked in the direction of Han Yu again. Unlock her mouth, then he said to the person holding Han Yu. The man immediately complied. Huo Xiao, it's me. As soon as his mouth was free, Han Yu immediately shouted to Huo Xiao. Huo Xiao frowned and still didn't look at her. Len Ning wanted to use this woman to disturb his mind and find an opportunity to attack him, but her calculation was wrong. It was just a piece of junk that came out of a red kill, and now it fell into Len Ning's hands. Han Yu had lost its use value to him. Do you know him? Len Ning asked, pretending to be confused. The two of them had been fooling around together in their previous life, and it seems they haven't changed in this life. We know each other, Han Yu hurriedly said to Len Ning. Ning, do you have any misunderstanding? Huo Xiao is my boyfriend, not the one who kidnapped me. When Han Yu saw that Zhang Lin had turned into a zombie, she thought that Len Ning and Zhang Huai were facing Huo Xiao because of her, so she hurriedly explained to Len Ning. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. Boyfriend? Haha. At the same time, he glanced at Huo Xiao across from him. Han Yu followed Len Ning's gaze and finally realized something was wrong. Huo Xiao, Don't you think it's too cold-blooded to give away such a good girlfriend to you just for a chance of survival? A flash of pain flashed across Han Yu's eyes. What do you mean? The eyes looked back and forth between Huo Xiao and Len Ning. Huo Xiao's face was ashen and he looked at Len Ning warily, but still did not look at Han Yu. Len Ning shook his head. It's pitiful, I still haven't figured out the situation yet. What's the situation? Han Yu felt as if she had lost the strength to speak, and the fear in her heart became stronger and stronger. Len Ning laughed, haha. Why do you think you were sold into a red kill before? Han Yu stiffened and shook her head. Of course, I asked Teacher Zhang and the others to take care of them. Len Ning had a faint smile on his face. Han Yu immediately looked at Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai looked a little embarrassed, but didn't say a word. Now that his life is in someone else's hands, he can't think so much. A flash of pain flashed in Han Yu's eyes, and then she looked at Len Ning again. No, Ning Ning, you are joking, aren't you? Then he asked Len Ning with a smile. I know I did something wrong in many places before and hurt you. But we are besties, aren't we? We are best friends. Haha, I don't have time to joke with you. Huo Xiao also knows about this. If you don't believe me, just ask him. Len Ning once again brought the topic to Huo Xiao. When Han Yu heard this, she immediately looked at Huo Xiao. No, some didn't dare to speak. Huo Xiao still ignored Han Yu. I'm in your hands now, let me go. Han Yu's expression changed. The person is in Len Ning's hands. Who is the person in Huo Xiao's mouth? Her. Thinking of this possibility, Han Yu's body swayed and she almost lost her balance. When Len Ning discovered the situation, the smile on his face became even brighter. Why are you so anxious? I have given you my sincerity after all. Now you are giving her to me and trying to escape by yourself. You have to give me an explanation. Han Yu seemed to be struck by lightning and immediately looked at Huo Xiao. But Huo Xiao still didn't look at her. Yes. Han Yu, who made you my best friend? I'd better tell you the truth. Len Ning looked at Han Yu again. Before, the reason why he went to the Red Kill to kidnap you was precisely because he learned that I had visited you. And then, the reason why he was nice to you. Haha, I guess he should be nice to you, otherwise you wouldn't agree to be his girlfriend. It's because he knows your identity. Huo Xiao narrowed his eyes. Sure enough, Len Ning knew far more than he thought. My identity. Han Yu finally looked away from Huo Xiao and asked Len Ning in a hoarse voice. Yes. You are not an orphan. Your father's name is Guoquidong, and he is now the commander-in-chief of the Southern Army base in City B. Len Ning said with a smile. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 551. She couldn't help it. She really enjoyed watching Han Yu's expression of rising hope and despair. Sure enough, Han Yu, who originally looked sad, suddenly became more energetic. And Guoquidong's only son is dead, and now you are the only daughter left. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. A flash of emotion flashed in Han Yu's eyes. That's why he is so anxious to find you. After all, the son you will give birth to will be the heir to the Southern Army base. Han Yu was shocked. As your future husband, do you need to worry about the future? At this point, Len Ning looked at Huo Xiao again. And a look that said I'm right. A flash of resentment flashed in Huo Xiao's eyes. The hatred for Len Ning rose to a higher level again. Her aloof attitude, as if she understands and controls everything, is really destructive. Really, is this really like this? Han Yu turned around blankly and looked at Huo Xiao again. Unfortunately, Huo Xiao still didn't look at her. It's such a pity that such a good plan was ruined by me, Len Ning said with excitement. With me here, how can I let you two have a good life? When he said this, Len Ning's smile was already tainted with some perverted elements. That's enough. We agreed on the terms before. I'm in your hands now, let me go now. Otherwise Huo Xiao's eyes widened, and the short thunder blade in his hand cut Zhang Huai's neck again. Han Yu didn't understand what was going on at this time, so her legs went weak and she fell to the ground. Unfortunately, no one paid attention to her. No one will care. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. I promised you, and I will naturally not break my promise. Put down Teacher Zhang, you can leave now, Len Ning said to Huo Xiao. Humph, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? I'll die if I let him go, Huo Xiao glared at Len Ning. Then what do you want? Len Ning's eyes darkened. You, get in the car. Huo Xiao immediately turned Zhang Huai's body and turned around himself, looking at the supernatural being guarding Han Yu. Han Yu was stunned and quickly looked at Huo Xiao. Unfortunately, as soon as she met Huo Xiao's eyes, she knew that she was wrong. The Huo Xiao at this moment was almost completely different from the one she had been with before. There was only coldness and indifference in his eyes. Han Yu's expression became dull again, and she felt like she had lost all her strength. Master Leng, the superpower, looked at Len Ning nervously. Since he asked you to deliver it, you should make the hard trip. Len Ning glanced at Huo Xiao and said. Just throw this woman to me. Then he looked at Han Yu on the ground. Yes, the superpower walked away immediately. According to Len Ning's words, he got in the car again. Han Yu saw Len Ning walking towards her and quickly got up from the ground. Then, I wanted to run away. Unfortunately, as soon as he lifted his feet, he was tangled into a rice dumpling by a few vines. After struggling and losing his center of gravity, he fell heavily to the ground. Let me go. Len Ning, you bitch. Len Ning. Han Yu couldn't scream the next words because her mouth had been blocked again. Little foolhardy. Huo Xiao saw Len Ning dealing with Han Yu and quickly escorted Zhang Huai to the back seat of the car with him. Then, the car quickly started and drove out towards the entrance of the station. Len Ning's expression changed and he quickly took out an off-road vehicle from the space ring. Keep an eye on them and wait for me to come back. After saying that, he got in the car and chased them. She had looked at the map before coming here. There were only a few major highways nearby. It shouldn't be that difficult for her to track Huo Xiao. On the other side, Huo Xiao asked the superpower to speed up and took him and Zhang Huai all the way to the city. After several detours, Huo Xiao asked the superhuman to drive up a mountain and enter a famous park before the end of the world. When they reached the top of the mountain, Huo Xiao finally asked the superhuman to stop. Who would have thought that as soon as the car stopped, Huo Xiao's eyes flashed with viciousness, and he made a move towards the superpower. Zhang Huai had already guessed that something might happen, so he seized the opportunity to break free from Huo Xiao's shackles, and quickly opened the door and escaped. Huo Xiao's expression changed. After getting rid of the superpower, he immediately got out of the car and prepared to chase Zhang Huai. However, he found that Zhang Huai had already jumped 10 meters away from him and was still running away quickly. Knowing that Len Ning must have been chasing him nearby, Huo Xiao simply gave up the idea of pursuing Zhang Huai. He quickly ran to the side and took out a helicopter from his space ring. Then, quickly get on the plane and start the engine. At this moment, Len Ning was at a fork in the mountainside, unsure of the direction of Huo Xiao's escape, when he heard the loud sound of a helicopter. At that moment, Len Ning stepped on the accelerator and chased towards the left. In less than a minute, she met Zhang Huai, who was running away. Zhang Huai's trachea was almost cut when he broke away from Huo Xiao in the car, so he didn't dare to speak and just kept pointing in the direction behind him with his hand. Len Ning naturally understood what it meant, and immediately accelerated and continued to move forward. After reaching the top of the mountain, when he saw a helicopter appearing in front of him, Len Ning stepped on the accelerator to the bottom. Huo Xiao, who was on the helicopter, saw a car chasing him and knew that the person in the car must be Len Ning, and he felt very impatient. In a hurry, he hurriedly continued to start the helicopter. Soon, the helicopter took off in the air. Before Len Ning arrived, he fled into the sky. Len Ning had no choice but to stop the car and get out of the car. After looking at the plane flying further and further away for a while, he turned around and hit the hood of the car heavily with his 2 elbows. Damn it! He escaped again. At the same time, Zhang Huai turned back and ran towards Len Ning quickly. Len Ning leaned on the hood for a long time, and after a long time, he calmed down. Get in the car, you're so hurt, find someone to look at quickly, Zhang Huai said. Zhang Huai gave Len Ning a grateful look and quickly got into Len Ning's car. Len Ning took one last look at the sky and got into the co-pilot. Is it a southern military base? Wait. Then, Len Ning drove Zhang Huai all the way back to the previous station. After arriving at the station, Len Ning discovered that Yan Yu had already arrived. And there was only one person left at the scene who Zhang Lin had brought before, and the rest were all dead. Len Ning glanced at Zhang Lin's last living subordinate, looked away from his fearful face, and walked directly towards Han Yu. Yan Yu, sometimes she thinks this person is stupid, but maybe the truth is not what she sees. Several people brought by Zhang Lin witnessed everything that happened today. In order to keep it secret, they naturally couldn't lay any hidden dangers. One person is left to bear witness, and the extra ones are killed to shock the survivor. As for whether the survivor can live in the future, or how long he will live, it is unknown. I have to say that it is not unreasonable for Zhang Huai to be so partial to Yan Yu. However, all this has nothing to do with her, right?